You know, we usually look to philosophers for the big, tough questions about life. But what if the most unsettling philosophy didn't come from a person, but from a demon or a vampire? Today, we're diving into a really strange text where monsters, the ones from our nightmares, finally get to speak their minds. And what they have to say about us and about existence itself, well, it's seriously chilling.
The entire argument really hangs on this one powerful idea, this total flip of the script. We've always thought monsters are out there to scare us, right? But what if their true purpose is to be a mirror, to reflect a horror that we refuse to see in ourselves? That's the unsettling question at the very heart of their philosophy.
So let's get into it. The monsters begin by turning the tables completely, pointing the finger right back at humanity with a unified accusation. So what's their big claim? It's actually pretty simple. They say, we aren't the source of evil, you are. They argue that they're just our projections, symbols we invented to blame for a darkness that actually comes from inside our own species. And listen to how one demon puts it, just cutting right to the chase. It asks, how could we possibly be the source of all that's vile when humanity itself is the singularity of it all? It's a heck of an opening statement in their case against us. And look, this isn't just some one-off opinion from a single demon. It's a whole chorus. You've got vampires, werewolves, gargoyles, you name it. They all share this philosophy. It's like a collective verdict from the very creatures we've spent centuries calling evil. Okay, so that's the accusation. Pretty bold, right? So what's their evidence? This is where humanity and everything we've built goes on trial. Their first piece of evidence, Exhibit A, is human society itself. They argue that a monster's violence is, at the very least, honest. It's direct. It's in their nature. But human violence? Oh, that's something far, far worse. It's sneaky, it's systemic, and it's woven into the very fabric of our civilization. And get this, even a dinosaur weighs in. It says its conflicts were mano a mano, one-on-one. Direct, no deception, no ganging up in collectives. There's a strange kind of honor in that, right? Especially when you compare it to the hidden, complicated cruelties of our society. So you can see the split pretty clearly here. On one side, monstrous violence, honest, individual, a simple function of nature. On the other side, human violence, insidious, collective, and a function of what the text calls conspiracy, all those unspoken rules and systems that let us be cruel on a massive scale. And they do not pull their punches. One monster just scoffs at our entire idea of justice, calling it an absolute joke. From its point of view, our social structures aren't there for fairness at all. They're just a fancy way to disguise a much deeper, uglier kind of violence. The text actually has a name for this, and it's brilliant. They call it sociological venom. It's not the kind of poison that comes from a fang. No, it's the invisible, systemic cruelty that only human groups can create. A poison they claim is way more brutal and inescapable than any monster's bite. But believe it or not, taking down all of human society, well, that's just the warm-up act. From here, their argument takes an even darker, more profound turn, putting existence itself on trial. See, they argue that humanity is just a symptom of a much bigger disease. The real problem isn't us. It's the fundamental nature of being conscious. To be aware, in their view, is to suffer. Period. And this quote from a character called the Lime Ghost. Wow, it is absolutely chilling. It says, life isn't a gift. It's a squalid mistake. From this perspective, it's better to not exist at all, because at least in oblivion, there's no pain. Death isn't the tragedy here. Life is. And the logic just gets darker from there. If nature is so heartless, if the universe is fundamentally built on pain, well then isn't existence itself psychopathic? Cruelty in this view isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. It's the logical result of a cold, heartless reality. So if you follow that logic, you end up in a really grim place. A place that, to them, makes perfect sense. It's voiced here by Cthulhu, of all beings. If life equals suffering and you want to end suffering, then the only truly rational solution is to extinguish all of life. It's a terrifying, cosmic-scale mercy killing. So where does all this bleak thinking lead? Well, it leads to their final verdict. And strangely enough, they don't frame it as a horror, but as a kind of comfort, the comfort of oblivion. Yeah, the argument lands exactly where you'd think it would. If existence is just a painful mistake, a cruel cosmic accident, then what's the only logical thing to do? You reject it. This is pure, profound nihilism, a total rejection of hope, value, and meaning.
And the final verdict is delivered as a simple, stark command from the ghost without scythe. You have to abandon hope. Why? Because it doesn't exist. It's the ultimate illusion in a meaningless universe.
And this is where they completely flip our understanding of the end. For these monsters, oblivion isn't some terrifying, empty void to be afraid of. No, it's a comforting release. It's the final cure for the sickness of existence, a peaceful end to the squalid mistake of being alive.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. If these monsters really are our mirrors, just reflecting back the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, what does it mean when that reflection stares back at us and calmly, logically, preaches the virtue of absolute nothingness? It's a deeply unsettling thought, and one the text leaves us to wrestle with.